The bodies of American journalist Marie Colvin, along with French photographer Remy Oshlik, were buried on Monday, according to amateur footage uploaded onto a social media site. Both were killed when their makeshift media center was bombed on February 22nd. The footage, which AlArabiya could not independently verify, shows a Syrian doctor by the name of Mohammed Ahmed speaking over the corpses of Colvin and Oshlik, which are wrapped in white cloth and labeled.
We are in one of the parks in Baba Amr. We haven't been able to put her in a fridge for a longer period because the Syrian army has prevented the Red Cross from coming in, and we have no electricity for a fridge. Marie Colvin was martyred because she was conveying a peaceful humanitarian message and the truth of what was happening in Baba Amr.
Being in incredibly difficult places.
British Prime Minister David Cameron spoke of Colvin's death in a recent tribute to the journalist.
Members of the House will also have seen the reports that the talented and respected foreign correspondent of the Sunday Times, Marie Colvin, has been killed from the bombing in Syria. This is a desperately sad reminder of the risks that journalists take to inform the world of what is happening and the dreadful events in Syria, and our thoughts should be with her family and with her friends.
Colvin had 30 years' experience of reporting conflicts all over the world as a war correspondent for the Sunday Times.
Well, clearly we're incredibly shocked by this. Marie has been covering wars for this newspaper for a quarter of a century. And we know she's taken risks, but she's always been very conscious of those risks and very careful. And it just shows, I think, the scale of the carnage going on in Syria, that she should have died like this. She was referring to Homs as the Srebrenica of Syria.
The American journalist focused on war victims and was quoted saying that her moral responsibility was to victims of strife, whom she regarded as innocents in need of a voice. Colvin covered the Balkan Wars as well as East Timor and Sri Lanka, where she lost her left eye in a shrapnel accident during clashes between government forces and Tamil Tiger rebels. That incident only further emphasized Colvin's reasons for reporting on wars, citing her preference on the safety and lives of those enduring national violence. Colvin was particularly interested in the Arab world and bore first-hand witness to the Arab Spring that began in 2011. The war correspondent was killed on assignment in Syria, where foreign media is barred from entering. Her death follows a week of intense shelling and bombardment in the district of Bab Amro in the Syrian town of Homs, which killed more than 80 people. This is the audio statement of Marie Colvin, where she reports the situation in Homs the day before her death.
The Syrians are not allowing civilians to leave. Anyone who gets on the street, if they're not hit by a shell, they're sniped. There are snipers all around Bab al-Amr on the high buildings. I think the sickening thing is the complete merciless nature. They are hitting civilian buildings absolutely mercilessly and without caring, and the scale of it is just shocking.
The United Nations says Assad's security forces have killed more than 7,500 civilians since the revolt began last March. Noura Faraj, العربية.